Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Popcorn Podcast with Lee and Tim, where we're sitting down with the one and only star and producer Eric Bana and writer-director Robert Connolly for their new Australian film, Force of Nature, The Dry 2. I'm Timmy Fland, movie buff.
And I'm Lee Livingstone, entertainment journalist.
And we love to talk all things movies.
In Force of Nature, The Dry 2, 5 women take part in a corporate hiking retreat, but only 4 come out on the other side. Federal agents Aaron Falk and Carmen Cooper head deep into the Victorian mountain ranges to investigate, hoping to find their whistleblowing informant, Alice, still alive.
Force of Nature, The Dry 2 is written and directed by Robert Connolly, based on the book by Jane Harper.
It stars Eric Bana, Anna Torv, Deborah Lee Furness, Robin McLeavy, Sissy Stringer, Lucy Ansell, Jacqueline McKenzie and Richard Roxburgh. What a stacked cast.
Oh my gosh, it's like the pinnacle cherry on top of an Australian ensemble. It's unreal. Some up-and-comers and some veteran actors there too. Now, our guests for this episode need no introduction. So that's it. We're just going to jump straight into the chat.
Just guess who it is.
We're delighted to welcome back homegrown superstar Eric Bana of Chopper, Hulk, Black Hawk Down and Dirty John fame, to name literally just a few.
Oh, he's had an incredible career. And Bana joined us on Popcorn Podcast a couple of years ago to talk about The Dry, his film with director Robert Connolly, and they just couldn't stay away, could they?
The sequel hunger crept into their bellies.
Well, these stories are adapted from Jane Harper's best-selling novels, and The Dry, back in 2021, was it?
Yeah.
Was a saving grace for the local industry during the pandemic. It was really instrumental, actually, in getting Aussies back into the cinema and excited about locally made productions.
It was one of our favourite films of that year from memory. It's got really great rewatch value. So we were so excited that they were returning to the character of Aaron Falk and telling another story.
Did I give that one 5 popcorn kernels? I feel like I might have.
I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll have to go back and check receipts, but I'm pretty sure you gave it a perfect score.
Yeah.
Well, the filmmaking duo are at it again with Force of Nature, The Dry 2, and they join us in this episode to give us insights into the sequel of their smash hit crime thriller, which is sure to be as wildly popular as the first.
So in this Popcorn Podcast interview, Bana and Connolly talk cursed characters, Aaron Falk's life outside of Jane Harper's 3-book series, and the challenges of bringing Australia to the big screen in an epic way.
So without further ado, let's take a listen, friends.
Alice? Yeah, are you okay?
Daniel knows.
Alice?
Hi, Eric. Hello, Robert. It's nice to talk to you again. And congrats on Force of Nature coming out. We're a bit worried about this one because it got delayed again, and The Dry was delayed because of COVID, obviously. Is Aaron Falk cursed?
Well, let's hope he's as cursed as last time.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredibly successful the first time around. It looks like this one's going to be exactly the same. Congrats on that.
you.
Eric, Aaron's cases end up kind of being a therapy for him, I guess. And then this one, I would say he's a tad less tortured. Where is he at when we meet him in Force of Nature?
Yeah, I think he's dealt with his past, obviously, in The Dry, but I feel like in this one, there's almost a bit more pressure. I feel like he really feels personally responsible for Alice, and I think that's really, really telling. And Jacqueline McKenzie's character does such a great job in working with him, but at the same time challenging him. And once again, he's kind of forced to reckon with whatever demons he's facing. So it was a real privilege to be able to. I've never done a follow-up or a sequel before, so to be able to do a character that you already know really well and that you've already done some groundwork with is a real gift.
I didn't realise that this was the first sequel that you've done.
For both of us. Yeah.
Amazing. And how did it feel slipping back into that character?
It was fantastic. Yeah. I mean, and also to work with the same director. There's definitely a shorthand in so many areas.
I mean, you guys work so well together, obviously. This isn't the only project that you've worked on. Who convinced who that it was time to return to Aaron Falk?
That's a good question, actually, because we were talking about that, trying to work out when we decided. And when we made The Dry, we didn't even think that there'd be you never assume there'll be a sequel. And there must have been a period afterwards where the book just intrigued us. It's got such an original idea. These 5 women who go on this corporate retreat into the bush and get lost. It felt like we've never seen that in Australian cinema before. We share an office together, we work together, and we toss around a lot of ideas. I guess we probably were just kind of trying to work out how to crack it.
Yeah, we always really love the premise, and we were always trying to envisage these 5 actors in the central role of the women who get lost in the bush. And then as we had conversations around that, it just became really, really exciting.
Robert, there's such a distinctive visual language to this film, as there was with The Dry. And it's just absolutely stunning when you juxtapose it between The Dry, the harshness of that environment, and then the lush landscapes that we see in the Victorian mountains. How do you go about translating that onto screen? It must be a mammoth task.
Yeah, I think the first thing you've got to do is get out in the bush for this film. Like in The Dry, we went out and lived in the Mallee and the Wimmera for the entire shoot. And in this, you have to get into really remote rainforest, subtropical rain. That's right. And so you invite the actors to come on that journey because it's going to be tough. But I think audiences love authenticity. They love to be taken to places they've never been. You know, they need to see it on the big screen. You know, we have an obligation almost to shoot it in a way that is epic and grand. And I love that. I love taking audiences somewhere like this, not only in Australia, but globally, you know, into the Australian bush. But it's tricky, it's tough. It's really, you know, a robust experience for the actors and the crew. You really need fellow travellers who are willing to kind of rough it. I mean, this was the heart of winter. It was raining. I think 90% of the shoot it was raining. It was a pretty fierce production.
Yeah, I love that you use the words epic and grand, because I think that's what's so exciting about these films is seeing the uniqueness of Australia come to life on screen. I think that's what really excites people. Where does The Force of Nature fit on the timeline compared to The Dry?
It's about 6 months after.
Is it? So it's quite soon.
Yeah. It's not years after, but he's come back at the end of The Dry and, you know, started working back in the city, and he's still got the kind of residue sense of what happened in The Dry and the complexity of that, and he's moved on a bit from there. And again, I think, you know, taking the character further on the next step. A sequel has to take a character psychologically further. Yes, I think that's pretty much the timeline we talked about 6 months.
And obviously Jane has a 3rd book called Exiles. Is there any plans to adapt that one too?
We're going to see how this goes. I mean, I think we try and be very focused on the film at hand, you know, and you know, when we made The Dry, we didn't even imagine a sequel. I mean,
we literally, like never once discussed.
Yeah.
And when we do the second one, like, it was just, we were so focused. And even with this one, there was never a conversation on set about, now, if we could do this now, we would set up for just hyper focus on this.
Because each film has to be a standalone film. You know, Force of Nature, even if you hadn't seen The Dry, it has to be a standalone kind of work.
Now that you're thinking about it, does Aaron Falk have a life on film beyond the books? I mean, this could be your James Bond franchise, Eric. With less action.
let's just get this one out.
We'll do what was the Indiana Jones, the Young Indiana series? Or,
Yeah.
No, we're just delighted that Jane Harper was happy for us to take, you know, Aaron Falk into this amazing world second film.
Well, you did such a fantastic job on both of them. Congratulations again.
Thanks very
and
much.
Thank you for your time. Really
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
again.
Your mind starts to play tricks on you out there. Like you're being watched.
Gosh, what a fun interview. As you said, Lee, this could be Eric Bana's Bond franchise if he just runs with it. I think that's genius.
Shut up and take my money. I'd be so happy to see Aaron Falk brood his way into a long-running franchise for sure.
A quick question, though. Obviously, there's been so many big actors who have been rumoured and approached to play the character of James Bond. Has Eric Bana ever been rumoured to be considered for the role over the years, over his career?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, because like Hugh Jackman has.
Maybe at the height of his Hollywood time.
Yeah, like in the early noughties, maybe when they were looking at Daniel Craig. I don't know. I just feel like he probably could have pulled it off. But anyway, Aaron Falk's come calling. That's good enough for me. You can watch the full interview over on our YouTube channel, where you'll also find our interview with Eric Bana's co-stars, National Treasures Deborah Lee Furness and Jacqueline McKenzie.
And our review of the film is on all good podcast platforms.
Indeed it is. Friends, Force of Nature, The Dry 2 is in Australian cinemas from February 8. Go check it out. Support local cinema. And as always, friends, thank you so much for listening.
We'll catch you next time.
If you enjoy our episodes, head over to Apple Podcasts and subscribe. While you're there, we would love you to rate us and leave a review. You can also find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Alexa, and where all good podcasts are found.